Welcome back to the vlog, everyone. Today I share with you 3 sessions that took place across 2 weekends, saving the best session for last, so make sure you stick around for that. But before we dive in, I want to take a moment to thank all 213 of you for your support in hitting the subscribe button. If you've been enjoying this series and aren't subscribed yet, why not consider subscribing to help us reach our end of year goal of 700 subscribers. Your support means everything, and together we will make this journey bigger and better. Let's jump right into the action. For the first session, I buy in for the usual £400 and go to take my seat, but after a rough start for the better part of an hour, missing boards, bleeding out, now my stack is at £320. But it's still early doors, and we finally pick up another hand when the action folds to us in the cutoff with Jack Queen off. I raise to £7, the button and the blinds call, taking us 4 ways to a flop of 2 Jack 3 Rainbow. Blinds check to me, and an easy decision, I see bet to £11 on this clean board. Button and small blind make the call, and big blind folds. So 3 ways now to the turn, which is the 6 of diamonds. Small blind checks to me again, a great card. I barrel for 17, which folds the button out, but small blind tanks for half a minute before calling. Now the river is the ace of spades. Not a card that should change much. If anything, it hits my range better than our opponents, and I triple barrel for 20. And now villain folds, finally allowing us to win the first decent sized pot of the session. Let's go. Pop log.
You like that, yeah?
Yeah. Alright, on to picking up ace 10 on the button, +1 low jack and cut off limp, and I raise to a large sizing of £20. Probably £5 too much, but we still get one caller from the initial limper in +1, so heads up to a flop of Queen 6-6 Rainbow. He checks to me, and I think a check back is sensible, so I continue for £15 and he calls. The turn is yet another 6, bringing in the heart draw as well, and now he checks, and I think I make the first mistake by betting, let alone for the small sizing of £25. As it's not a very polarizing size, I could rep kings or aces. Considering my large pre-flop raise, maybe that could be a believable story. Anyway, he calls, and the river is not an ace, but it is a 10, which is great. We beat his 9s, 8s, 7s, etc. I just hope he checks back though. But now +1 leads for 50, which simply tells me he has a queen. I sigh and end up letting this one go. He doesn't show, so we'll never know. But main takeaway from this hand being to just check back the turn, or at least bet a larger sizing if the bluff. But yeah, we move. Unbelievable. Up next, we pulled the 7-8 suited connector in the low jack. With a limp before us, I raise to 10, and the button and the small blind are the only callers. So 3 ways to a flop, which comes 4-3-8 with 2 diamonds. Small blind checks to me. I'm continuing all day, every day in this spot, as our top pair mid kicker needs some protection, and we wouldn't mind taking it down right here, right now, with a bet of £15 for around half pot, but they both call. The turn is pretty good. It's a 6 of clubs, doesn't bring in another diamond, and shouldn't really change much other than giving us a one-liner to a straight. So when small blind checks to me again, I think the strategy remains the same as on the flop. So I barrel for £25, and once again both players call, which now is a bit worrying. I'm going to just check most rivers, and when the river comes, a king of spades, which is even quite a blank one. Small blind checks to me again. Now a third street of value is probably just value owning myself. I check back, button does the same, and feeling like we could be good most of the time, I flip over, but small blind shows king 8, having us owned the whole time. Button marks onto the next one.
No faces, mate. No faces, don't worry.
Now we pick up the ladies, baby. First silky hand of the session, and we let them know.
I've got a good hand. I'm on the button as well. Let's go.
I raise to 10, but the blinds are non-believers and call anyway.
Every time I'm in the pot, he comes along.
You're gonna lose.
Flop comes 4-5-3 Rainbow. Now small blind leads for 10, big blind calls. I'm thinking they can't have kings or aces, so as far as single pair holdings go, we are winning. But the strange thing is the board is rainbow, and any straight draws should probably be checking, so the lead is very strong. This might seem like strange play, but I raise to £25 for information and value against lower pocket pairs to see how the blinds decide to proceed. They both call. Now I remember the turn was completely irrelevant. I didn't even make a note of it. bit, so feel free to make it up. Now small blind continues to lead for 20 and big blind calls. As crazy as this sounds, I don't think I'm good. I just don't think I'm good. Calling my raise on the flop and small blind continuing the lead into 2 players on the turn. I think he has at least 2 pairs, let alone sets and straights, which are both in their ranges. So I make the fold. Continuing to showdown just to find out what they had. The river is another blank. Make it up. Small blind Hollywoods for a bit before going all in for big blind's effective stack of around £125. Big blind quickly calls and we pretty much have a nuts versus second nuts right from the flop. Unlucky big blind, happy to get away with losing the minimum. On to the next one.
You both flopped it.
Wow. That's very unlucky, man. That's
The nuts. You flopped the second nut.
That's a setup. That's a setup if I've ever seen one.
Oh my god.
Into the last significant hand of session 1 before calling it a day with ace 5 off in the hijack. I raised to 7 and 3 ways with cut off and button to a flop of 10-5-10 rainbow. I check, cut off bets a 5, button folds and I call. Turn goes check with the 2 of spades. River is the 9 of diamonds. I check, villain bets 25. The check on the turn makes me think he's polarized. Maybe he spiked the 9. I'm a non-believer and chuck in the black and white chip to get my ass handed to me when he shows pocket 9s for a full house. And after that I wrap the session up before I have nothing left and cash out for £120.
Beating a 5 anyway.
How do you do it?
Did you put that in the vlog, yeah? I'm the guy, video me, yeah? Put it on YouTube. I'm the guy that does a bomber clot is 5 in my pocket 9 in that.
So that's that session done. Don't really know what to say about that one. Pretty terrible.
1 week later.
The following week, we are back in the poker room for a quick session. I buy in for the usual £400. A couple orbits into the session, we get dealt our first big hand, ace king in the +1. I raise to 6, it folds all the way to the big blind who calls, heads up and flop comes good for us. Queen 9 ace rainbow. Top pair, top kicker and hits our range. So easy C bet for half pot. Could go larger, probably should go larger. Villain calls, might as well be a Pikachu again with the 3 of diamonds on the turn. Villain checks to me, I bet 15 and he calls. River brings in another ace of hearts. Now when he checks, it's time to go for value. I act for a bit and then bet 55. Same critique here, should probably go larger to target his ace-x hands that we beat, but Villain thinks for about 25 seconds and calls. We show and are good as he mucks. Main takeaway being betting larger on the flop turn since it's heads up to set up a much juicier pot size bet on the river. So really important to get the bet sizing right from the flop, especially if you're going to bet 3 streets for value as it compounds from the flop to the turn to the river. Anyway, as always, we move and learn.
Okay, alright, thank God for that. Sorry, I wasn't meant to. I'm like, what, did you just bet 55 quid and you just called with that?
No.
That's fine.
Next up, we're in the small blind with ace 4 of clubs. There is a low jack raise to 7, folds to me, only I call, so heads up versus a player who was V-pipping a lot of hands and claiming to bluff on many rivers. Flop comes queen ace, it's a rainbow board, we have top pair no kicker and I'm out of position. I just check and Villain checks back. Turn comes a 9 of diamonds. I decide to lead now for 15 and Villain makes a very quick call, which is a little telling of a strong hand on quite a scary board, but proceeding to a river brings in a 2 of spades, which changes nothing. Knowing my opponent bluffs a lot, I block bet 15 to potentially get value from his pocket pairs. But then when he tells me and then tries to scan me for tells and unfortunately flicks in the call, he takes the pot and I can't help but think a larger sizing to rep queens would probably have done the job, but that's probably also just being results orientated. Main takeaway here is that I probably should have checked the turn, being out of position as against an uncapped range who could easily have been slow playing the flop. Betting is probably burning money. Anyway, maybe I lost the minimum here, I don't know, but we move on to the final hand of this short session, where I pick up ace 9 offsuit in the cutoff and raise to 6 at the bottom of my range. Calls from 2 new players in the blind sends us 3 ways to the flop, which presents jack 2 9 2 diamonds. Checks to me, sitting with second pair, top kicker, no diamond. I see bet, but I think a check here is also good. Only the small blind calls. Turn brings in the 3 of clubs, bringing in a couple draws with it. Villain now leads for 10 what could he have? The board is quite wet now, could be on a draw, could have a beat with a jack. I don't think he's betting a worse 9, but for that price I call, and the turn upgrades us to 2 pair with the ace of clubs, but brings in the backdoor flush as well. And now villain leads again for a bet of £45. Great. I simply don't think I can fold this hand. Maybe he's doing this with a jack holding, so I end up cycling and he shows us 10-8 of clubs. Nice hand, nice hand. Overall, I didn't play my best in this session, but also one of the most run dead sessions since I started playing live poker. Many hands I couldn't even include in the vlog, as I'd miss on the flop or I'd fold pre-flop after a raise at the bottom of my range and get free betted. But that happens, that is poker, you have to deal with it. So ending session 2, cashing out £198. Some football heritage arrived in the post this morning. Barcelona's classic home shirt from 1998 with the one and only Pep Guardiola on the back. I think it's cold. Anyway, now on my way to what ended up being by far the most interesting poker session of the entire vlog. We arrive on a losing streak and feel that we are due some run good, so really hoping today can be that day, and we buy in for £403, and very early on here we get into a big one with king jack off in the small blind. There is a +2 raise to 7, low jack and button call. I mean to join along with a call, but accidentally hit the raise button with a raise to 12, which of course everyone calls, juicing the pot up to around 50 quid, but it works in our favor when the flop comes king 6 queen 2 diamonds. Being first to act, I did accidentally become the pre-flop aggressor, but no one truly knows if it was an accident or not. I continue for a small bet of £15 multi-way here. Honestly, 4 ways, first to act. I'm not too sure on the sizing, but maybe it could be larger. +2 makes the call, and we go heads up now versus an opponent that covers us and who looks like a regular. The turn bringing in the 4 of diamonds. Action on me. The 4 of diamonds completes any flush draws, but I do have a decent blocker in the jack of diamonds, blocking draws like jack 10, jack 9 of diamonds. I barrel for 35 for just under half pot, targeting diamond draws, queen x hands, possibly worse king x hands, and +2 makes the call onto the river with a sizable pot ruin, and we improve as the jack of spades come. At the time I'm just thinking we have improved to 2 pair. Great, fantastic, but not so much on the fact that the only real value hand that we will also beat now is slow played ace king. But despite that, I decide to go for value as I think we are good here, and maybe villain can call us thinking we are bluffing, who knows. I just think we have the best hand, but then villain goes all in. Well, that was unexpected. Feels a little strange. The first combo that pops to mind is slow played ace king of diamonds, or any ace x diamond suited combo for that matter. Just hating this spot. I sat down under an hour ago. Already I'm having to gamble for my whole stack and whether I'll get my ass sent home, but after 3 minutes of stressing and deliberating, I decide to give him the benefit of the doubt, purely because I think this spot is very underbluffed, so make a painful fold. But the pain amplifies when he shows ace queen offsuit with the ace of diamond blocker to the nuts. That is a hard pill to swallow, but credit to +2, a good bluff to be fair, and one to learn from. A downswing theme of the past 2 sessions early on here, and now hope to find a way out the mud. With the best hand in poker, I raise it to 6 out of the +1 button and big blind call, so 3 ways to a flop of jack 7 6 rainbow. Now big blind leads. I haven't played with him before. He looks fairly young and doesn't look to take the game too seriously. I definitely think there is an argument for raising here, but I take the passive route and call, putting him on a jack. Turn is the 9 of spades, an undercard to the jack, which should keep him firing, which he does for 15, and I again contemplate raising but decide on a call. River brings in the 6 of spades for the backdoor flush draw. He now continues for 25, and I'm going to raise, putting him on a jack x hand, so raise to a tiny £45. As at best I put him on king jack, and he does eventually call, and we take this one down with 1 pair. 1 pair.
1 pair.
Oh, the best pair possible, yeah.
Next up, we've got the cherries in the small blind. We face a £7 raise from a supporter of the vlog, but also a fairly aggressive opponent in the hijack, and the big blind completes. 3 ways, flop comes 6, king, 10, giving us a set. Let's go. First to act, I check. Big blind checks. Hijack, C bets 10. I call. Unfortunately, big blind is out of here. We go heads up to the ace of hearts on the turn. Would have preferred a blank in hope he had a king, but anyway, I check. He bets 30 and I call. River is the 9 of clubs, torn between betting and checking now. I opt to bet £60 for value, as for a bit of context, me and him had just a few hands back been in the same situation where I led the river for a similar sizing which didn't get fully recorded, but point being, he folded, so hoping this time he might make the call instead, and after a minute of tanking, he unfortunately folds. So maybe checking to let him bet the river, especially with no flushes completing, would have been the better play. But on to the next one. Right, taking on our powers advice on table selection, we switched to a table with new players, hoping to move us into the green. In the first significant hand, I'm dealt pocket queens in the +1. I raised to a modest £6, realizing my mistake in the sizing when it backfires, and we end up with 5 players seeing the flop. The flop comes 4-4-2. Small blind checks to the big blind, who fires £15. I just call, and so does a fellow watcher of the vlog in the cutoff. So 3 ways to the turn, which brings in one of the best hands in the deck, I feel, in the 4 of clubs. Now +2 slows down and checks. I bet 30 and only the cutoff calls. And with a decent size pot brewing, the river is the 7 of spades. Another great card, not changing anything. I now need to go for value, targeting mainly lower pocket pairs and throwing 3 Zebra chips for £75. And cutoff doesn't snap call, which is the first good sign. So now just hoping for the call so we can move into the green, and after 30 seconds he finally picks up 3 Zebra chips and tosses in the call. We quickly show our queens and of course are good. Ironically, the initial concern of opening too small pre-flop was what ended up paying us off on the river. Let's go.
He bet 6. That's why. No, he bet the 6.
I know.
Kite Hargreaves has a smaller pocket pair, so he played it to the bet side. Nice.
After dragging in that pot, we get into a couple other smaller pots, such as with kings in position against a loose player in big blind, where we slow play checking the flop and get big blind to lead 2 streets of value with ace high on turn and river for around £50 profit. Similarly, with ace king on the button versus small blind, the straddle on meant a £15 opening raise heads up to an ace high board. We get 2 streets of value again and not a third. When the river doesn't complete his flush draw, we profit another £50. As a result, we now sit pretty with a stack of £620 and some change. And a couple more orbits later, we arrive at the final hand of the vlog when we peel Queen Jack of spades in the big blind. Action limps to me and I raise to a tenner, which the same player from the previous hand calls in the hijack, and button comes along as well. Flop presents 10-9-9 rainbow. First to act here, picking up an open ender. I c bet for £15 and only the hijack calls. Turn is the ace of spades. This is an interesting one, a card that is in my range. Despite that, I decide to check. In the moment, I'm thinking villain has more 9s in his range, so I don't want to be betting into trips. But when the hijack checks back, I rule out the possibility that he has a 9, especially with that flush draw out there. The river doesn't quite deliver the goods, showing a 7 of spades. I aim to represent the ace and bet £50 though. Heart is racing, villain takes his time, and after thinking for 1 minute,
You're good.
bluff didn't pull through this time, and maybe it wasn't the best spot for it, but it's something that needs to be done in order to maximize profits in poker, so I will look to do more of it moving forward. We just need to find better spots for it. We play a few more hands before cashing out around 2 AM for £563.
Smiling because finally won a session after the last few sessions being losing sessions. Good to finally run well and win a session. Could even have won more had I not folded the King Jack hand, but we still cash out for a decent amount of profit. I'm happy back to winning ways. Hopefully we can keep it going for the next vlog, and peace out. Thanks for watching.